continue to follow updates on that tragedy in Washington, D.C. 2 National Guard members shot in a deadly ambush while out on patrol in the nation's capital. Hello, I'm Christine Pedawanich with what's happening in the news now. Today, we have the latest on the investigation and reaction from across the country. 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard were shot just blocks away from the White House on the day before Thanksgiving. They were deployed to D.C. as part of President Trump's plan to fight crime. Specialist Sarah Beckstrom was killed. Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolfe is in the hospital in serious condition. Authorities say the suspect drove to the nation's capital all the way from Washington state. He's an Afghan national who was in the U.S. with asylum status. He was shot in the confrontation and remains in the hospital. Ramanullah Lakhanwal is charged with 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of assault. The shooting prompted the Trump administration to halt all asylum decisions and pause issuing visas for people traveling on Afghan passports. After the shooting, the president also requested hundreds more Guard members to D.C. We're going to dive into all of that today. Reporter Maribel Gonzalez kicks off our coverage.
20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom had been in the National Guard for just over 2 years when she was shot in Washington, D.C. She died from her injuries a day later.
I remember her mom posting pictures of her in her uniform and just thinking like how wonderful it was that she was out there serving our country.
A second National Guard member, Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolfe, was critically wounded in what authorities call an ambush. The alleged shooter is 29-year-old Ramanullah Lakhanwal, who came to the U.S. in 2021 in the wake of the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan under a Biden-era program to resettle Afghans who had helped U.S. forces. His asylum application was approved under the Trump administration.
Those people let off, they were rigorously vetted. Some people went to a second country, and they weren't allowed into this country until they were fully vetted like we would do any other refugees.
Following the shooting, President Donald Trump has ordered a review of green card holders from 19 so-called countries of concern. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the department is also moving to block undocumented immigrants from receiving federal tax benefits. Immigrant communities and their advocates say the administration's anti-immigrant rhetoric is putting more people at risk.
This is again like 9/11, happened, an entire Muslim community got impacted. Now Afghans are going to pay the price.
I'm Maribel Gonzalez reporting.
President Trump says he's spoken to the families of the 2 Guard members shot and invited them to the White House.
I said, when you're ready, because it's a tough thing, come to the White House, we're going to honor Sarah. And likewise with Andrew, recover or not, we're going to honor.
Sarah Beckstrom joined the Guard back in 2023 and had been deployed in D.C. since August. Her father wrote on Facebook, quote, "My baby girl has passed to glory. This has been a horrible tragedy." Beckstrom's former boyfriend said she eventually wanted to work for the FBI. He described her as a loving, caring person.
She was super kind-hearted, super sweet. One of the best people around that you could meet. She'd do anything for you and didn't even have to know you.
How did she feel about being deployed to D.C.?
Hated it. Absolutely hated it. She was crying before she left. She dreaded it. She did not want to go. The more she was there, the more she warmed up to it. And she actually volunteered for a longer time. She definitely knows she was making a difference for the right cause. And she's one of the biggest hearted people out there. And I'm glad most of our time was together.
Beckstrom grew up in Webster Springs, West Virginia. Her town held a vigil in her honor. West Virginia's governor says Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolfe remains in serious condition in the hospital, but has shown positive signs. The governor says Wolfe gave a thumbs up, signaling he could hear a nurse's question and wiggled his toes, but says Wolfe continues to fight for his life. He's been a guardsman since 2019 and is part of the 167th Airlift Wing near his hometown of Martinsburg, West Virginia.
He'd give the shirt off his back to somebody. He's just a really good guy. We always looked out for each other. Best neighbor you could ask for, really. It really caught us off guard. Really close to home. Just hopeful for his family. That's the biggest thing. His family's the biggest concern. I just hope his family's doing okay with it.
His father told CNN, quote, "Just pray for my son. He's a fighter." Meantime, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the suspect in the shooting was radicalized after arriving in the U.S. Ramanullah Lakhanwal worked alongside U.S. troops during the Afghanistan war. This year, the U.S. granted him and his family asylum. The Associated Press reports that emails show social workers on his case were concerned about a dark turn in his mental health, including potential PTSD. He resettled with his wife and their 5 sons in Bellingham, Washington. It's about 80 miles north of Seattle. Authorities searched his home after the shooting. Bridget Chavez spoke with neighbors.
This apartment complex is the last known address of D.C. shooting suspect Rahmanullah Lochinwall. We've spoken with neighbors and people who live around Bellingham today who across the board say they're shocked.
FBI agents searched the complex and Lochinwall's home.
I'm going, oh geez, what is going on?
Officials say he drove from his home in Bellingham to Washington, D.C. and shot 2 West Virginia National Guard members.
Like, I was just scrolling on TikTok and I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, like the connection is so local. Like, that's insane.
Officials say before coming to the U.S., the 29-year-old worked with the U.S. government, including the CIA. He entered the United States in 2021 through Operation Allies Welcome, a Biden administration program that evacuated and settled tens of thousands of Afghans after the U.S. withdrawal. His asylum was granted this year under the Trump administration. Warren Reese lives in the building and says Lochinwall and his family kept to themselves.
Coming and going. They didn't talk to anybody, just private. Don't say anything. Each to his own.
He says he didn't interact with them much.
They just come and go, kept it quiet to themselves.
Others who live in Bellingham say they're stunned.
Trying to make a political statement, I feel. Like, I don't know, from what I've heard. It's giving those vibes.
Lochinwall remains in custody. Officials say it's too soon to say what his motives were.
A lot of us here, at least, are like kind of anti all the gun violence. So I think it's kind of interesting that he chose like that route with like shooting them.
In response to the shooting, the president called for 500 more Guard members to be sent to Washington, D.C. They're expected to arrive in the coming days. The added troops could bring the number of National Guard soldiers in D.C. to nearly 3,000. Lionel Donovan spoke to people in D.C. about the development.
At the end of the day, he is the commander-in-chief of the United States. So, I mean, he sees some good in it, then, so be it.
I think it's going to bring more problems. I think it's going to cause more issues and it's going to bring solutions.
D.C. residents are getting ready for more National Guard in D.C. President Donald Trump made the announcement just hours after 24-year-old Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolfe and 20-year-old Specialist Sarah Beckstrom were ambushed and shot Wednesday afternoon in downtown D.C.
That is why tonight I can announce that I have directed the Department of War to mobilize an additional 500 troops to help protect our capital city.
Adding to an already 3-month-long deployment where more than 2,200 National Guard members from several different states were brought to D.C. On Thanksgiving night, Beckstrom died from her injuries. Now troops may be temporarily paired with MPD officers, according to the Washington Post. MPD sources tell WUSA 9 they're still working out the logistics with no clear plan just yet. The president says the district needs more troops.
This was done because the National Guard has been so effective. You went from having a tremendous amount of crime and death, killing, everything else, to having none.
However, although crime and homicides have gone down since the National Guard arrived in D.C., numbers from the MPD and federal data also show that crime was on a downward trend long before troops arrived. Now, after months of watching the National Guard at work, some residents are questioning the value of more troops in D.C.
I've seen the National Guard pick up trash. I've seen the National Guard intimidate people just by being around in militarized gear. It makes everyone uncomfortable. And I've seen no evidence of them doing anything for the community.
Lionel Donovan, WUSA 9.
Earlier this month, a federal judge determined that the deployment of the National Guard in D.C. is illegal and should be halted. The Trump administration has appealed that ruling. A final decision could be reached in the coming days. We've got more coverage after the break, including a deeper dive on the immigration crackdown following the shooting and how it could impact hundreds of thousands of people. There's a growing memorial for the 2 National Guard members ambushed in D.C. last week. People are leaving flowers and prayers for Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom and Sergeant Andrew Wolfe, who were both shot while on patrol.
You got to do something, and this, I guess, is what I can do, is just take a moment to reflect on their service, reflect on the loss, pray for them, pray for their families.
That Marine veteran was among those who stopped by to pay their respects. As we've been reporting, the suspect is an Afghan national who served with a CIA-backed unit before coming to the U.S. In response, the Trump administration is calling for re-examinations of green cards issued to immigrants from 19 countries and pausing all asylum decisions. Sarah Robinson has more from legal experts on whether this crackdown is legal and how refugee communities across the nation are feeling.
Until now, the government has mostly focused on stopping illegal border crossings or deporting undocumented immigrants. This new sweeping order, however, could impact hundreds of thousands of people present here legally in the United States under protected status as green card holders or humanitarian evacuees.
It's something we've never seen before in this country.
Following the shooting of 2 National Guard members in D.C. by an Afghan national, now charged with first-degree murder, the administration has escalated its immigration crackdown to include asylum and green card holders.
People are in a panic. People are in an absolute panic about what to do. They don't know what it means.
Trump says he has paused all asylum decisions and is subjecting refugees to a re-interview or re-vetting process.
There's a real fear of sending kids to school, of just going about daily life.
Yael Satcher with Refugees International, based in D.C., says in the wake of the announcement, many clients she works with are avoiding public spaces, having groceries delivered, afraid to leave their homes.
It's not standard protocol.
Local immigration attorney Kelly Ortega argues that the mass review threatens civil rights protections. She says immigration law generally requires individualized suspicion or wrongdoing before reopening someone's legal status.
It's concerning, at the very least, when it comes to qualifying all these individuals as potential national security threats because of the actions of one person.
Schachter says between 2022 and 2024, there were about 8,000 people here in the D.C. area as part of the refugee admissions program. She says some of those people could now be subject to re-interviews. Reporting in D.C., I'm Sarah Robinson, WUSA 9.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said the asylum process for migrants would resume once the administration has dealt with a backlog of applications under new standards following the attack. That does it for us today. We'll continue to follow updates and bring you the very latest. For now, I'm Christine Pitawanich. Thanks for watching.